Okay guys, going to talk a little bit about the materials today, specifically about graphite. So just so you know the way I typically break up a drawing one class, and especially right now because we're teaching online, which makes things a little more challenging, we're going to do an awful lot of graphite and then charcoal down the road. Those are our two main materials with a few other materials mixed in. So we'll get to know graphite really well. And some of you guys have used this a ton. The beauty of graphite is, it's what we've all grown up learning to draw with, what we write with. So it's pretty comfortable. A pencil in our hand feels pretty comfortable. I know that some people are watching these videos, and I'm not the instructor for the course, but I'm providing these kind of supplemental videos. So keep in mind that what your instructor ultimately says goes, and all of this brand of pencils, this set may be a little different for what you have. So for my students, I've asked you guys to buy this set of Tombow pencils, and it includes this range of, 6 pencils here. Now, some of you might have more, some of you might have less, and that's totally okay. Just so you know, 6B, I believe they make even all the way up to 8 or 9B, something like that, which to me is a little excessive. Definitely in the lighter realm, they go all the way up to somewhere around 6H. So they just keep getting lighter as you go in that direction, just so you guys know that. In general, anything labeled with an H in it, 2H, 3H, 4H, etc., goes lighter and lighter on the spectrum. As you get into HB, you're kind of in the middle of the road, and you're getting darker and darker as you go, the higher number in the B leads with a pencil. It's important to have a range for when you shade with pencil, but even just for outline drawing, you want a nice little range. Just so you guys know, if you look at my pencil set, this is a new set, but you see the one that's way shorter than the others. HB is kind of my sweet spot. When I'm line drawing, shading, I'm all over the place, but when I'm starting with the line drawing, HB is kind of where I'm predominantly working. I don't always mention that in my videos. I can be bad about that, but if you see me doing a demonstration, I tend to start with HB. Now, all pencils have a range, but HB I like because I don't have to press too hard to get it to go dark. With a light pressure, I can get really light lines, medium pressure, and then bold pressure. I feel like there's a huge range that I can get with the HB. So that's just my personal opinion. Your instructor might say, hey, we're always starting a drawing with 2H or whatever it happens to be. So keep that in mind. Okay, I did a little bit of a kind of a scale of the values of the shades that these pencils might show. This is a good approximation of each pencil with a light pressure, just to show you how light the 2H is, and then we go darker and darker as we go. And each one of those pencils will have a good range between it. So a couple other things that you definitely want handy when working in graphite. I always have the kneaded eraser, which is the one that's really malleable. So the good thing about this is they're kind of self-cleaning. Mine's really dark and looks really funky because I've had it for a long time and it soaks up all that charcoal and graphite. But the really nice thing about a kneaded eraser is that you can shape it to the size you need. So you can come to a little point and erase out details, or it's really good for when you just want to lightly kind of go over a big area. So for example, all of these here, I could take the flat end of this eraser, I've kind of scooped it flat, and just brush over this. And it does a really good job of just beginning to erase out these shades. So if you notice, I could totally erase out a light mark with a 2H or an HB. Even on the B and the 2B, I can get a lot of that graphite removed with just with the kneaded eraser. But then I also like to have a pink pearl handy too. This one's really good for coming in and cleaning up even further. So I never start with the pink pearl. I always start with a kneaded eraser, and sometimes it gets the job done. And then if you really need to come in with reinforcements or backup, check out. Now that's an HB pencil, which is pretty dark, and I can basically go back to the white of the page. Let's see, 2B. Check that out, not bad. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. That's a dark pencil, and I was able to erase out a lot of it with a combo of kneaded eraser and then the pink pearl eraser. Now, if you just take a really dark pencil and just dig in with everything you've got, there's no way you're gonna come back and erase it, so keep that in mind. If you're in my class and you got these Tombow pencils, it came with one of these retractable erasers. These are awesome. I'm gonna hold it up toward the camera so you can see it, but it works just like a mechanical pencil, but this is an eraser here and it's really thin. So this is awesome when we get into shading. If you need to erase out a tiny highlight or something like that, these are really good for that. And I like that it comes with this set of pencils. So may not use it a lot in the beginning, but we'll use it, excuse me, we'll use it down the road for sure. I always have some sort of a pencil sharpener handy. This is the Target brand, super cheap. I don't necessarily recommend you get a cheap one like this, but it's actually been holding up. And I do like the ones that have a case that collects the shavings. You guys may not have those. I try to give you the cheapest one that I could see on Blick, but this way you don't have to hover over a trash can. If you have one that doesn't have the collector for the shavings, you could always just, have a little trash can close by so that you can, sharpen right over a trash can and not make a mess. And then the last thing really quickly is I also have for my classes some colored pencils too. So while we're working in graphite, not on every project, so I'll let you know when I want you to use the colored pencils, but occasionally I do like you guys to draw with colored pencil, and the reason being that they're a little harder to erase. So for things like gesture lines and I don't know, measuring, structure lines, I love to use colored pencil as kind of our outline because you can't erase, and it forces you to learn pressure sensitivity and things like that. And you can start lightly, work a little darker, and then you can combine those colored pencils with graphite for like the final version. And it's kind of a nice look when you get like a graphite overlay on top of your colored pencil. So just keep that in mind that we will be using some just, whatever colored pencils you happen to have. I think I put Crayolas on the list just because they were really cheap. I use Prismacolors. But as far as the quality for us, we don't need artist quality colored pencils. Down the road, if you take drawing too, we might shade with with colored pencil. But for my class, we're just working on it as kind of line work, as a supplement to the graphite occasionally. So those are the big things we'll need right off the bat. Sometimes, actually, you can see it here, the masking tape that's on your list. A lot of times I'll like to tape the corners of my paper down onto my drawing board, so keep that in mind. It's good to have that handy too. But as far as a lot of the charcoal materials, we don't have to get into those just yet. We'll talk about those when the time comes.